Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and you're listening to the Columbine Conspiracy Series. This is episode 20. Third Perp confirmed. Is there definitive, irrefutable evidence of a third individual involved in the Columbine incident? Is it within the documentation? And we'll also be going over unreleased documents. Quite damning information confirmed within them. And we also have to ask the question, how many of these other tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of documents that haven't been released, what do they contain? And why have they not been released? As always, if you enjoy the Mindshock podcast, want to help support logic and reason, returning to a world where it is quickly going extinct, and hold accountable all guilty parties in various true crime events, because obviously justice delayed is justice denied. You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. There will also be some exclusive YouTube members streams coming up. And any questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. Unless, of course, you are with us here live, drop them in the live chat, live Q&A for all of these streams. Walking in 4K, welcome. Les Xylophone, welcome. Walking in 4K says, should be more Murray. Yeah, more Murray actually edged ahead in the poll on which case would be covered tonight. I mean, I have mind-shocking new info on all of them. As soon as I started the live stream, more Murray jumped ahead, so we will be doing more Murray will be the next true crime one. And then I have some new Johnny Gosh info as well. Flat Bob, welcome. Okay, so obviously if you haven't checked out the entire series, we will be referencing several points. Just give me 1 second to check the connection here. Alright, we should be good to go. Alright, so, does anybody have any questions? Flat Bob says, I'm still yet to get into any of your true crime content. Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of crazy. Mindshock actually started, I think the first episode we did was a Halloween episode on monsters and the paranormal, a logical discussion on it, because there really is no logical, objective, neutral discussion on any of these topics anywhere in the mainstream or even not in the mainstream. I mean, once you figure out what logic is and what logical fallacies are, that's all you hear anywhere, which is why Mindshock exists. Alright, see you next time, Flat Bob. Johnny Appleseed says, no way, I thought the Columbine series was finished. We're just scratching the surface, my friend. We're just scratching the surface. Walking in 4K says, do you know when Renner's new book on Amy Bradley's coming out? Not sure. He's working on it. I would assume not in the distant future, maybe this year. Les Xylophone says, maybe Perry, Harris, and Klebold had a suicide pact, and when Eric did himself in, Dylan punked out and had Perry shoot him thinking he was going to do himself, but he just walked to the library. I'm not sure Perry was on the premises at that point, I'm actually working on a comprehensive map with all of the time frames and movements of confirmed and unconfirmed individuals. It's a pretty big project. I don't know if Perry stayed for the duration as long as Harrison Klebold. He may have left earlier like many of the other suspected additional perps, but we're actually going to be going over two individuals who have never been named unredacted in any documentation, so I cannot name them. I will be using their initials, but we will be diving into the documentation, so I hope everybody is buckled up here, because we are going to Mindshock land. So researchcolumbine.com, one of the forefront researchers in this case, tons of documents, theories. There's so much on researchcolumbine.com, but one thing I found interesting here is one of Eric Harris's friends admitted to planting bombs at Columbine. So supposedly this is all on record. So you can find a write-up here on researchcolumbine.com, and then there's also researchcolumbine.substack.com. I'm going to go through both of these. So here's the write-up here. So there are two individuals here. We will reference to them as SC and KF. So KF is this individual. Someone in the chat's probably going to name them, but again, I only go over names and information that is 100% public and public record, referring to this case or any podcast. So if it's not 100% in the public record, we do refer to individuals by initials in the true crime community. So these are not students at Columbine. These are students at neighboring high schools. So this is one of the most damning aspects of multiple perps in this case. And I don't know why it gets so little discussion. And there, of course, are documents here supporting all of this, which I will cite. As always, I'll also put them on the screen. So the theory here is that Eric Harris taught an Arvada high school freshman how to make a very specific type of explosive device made from an empty VHS cassette tape shell using BB's powder, a cricket, and electrical tape. This type of device, so this exact type of device, was found in Harris's bedroom, and the freshman gave, so this Arvada freshman gave one of these devices to his friend, a female, the initials SC, about 3 weeks before the shooting. KF denied being taught by Eric Harris to make these bombs to the police, but he admitted it to his therapist. Very interesting. So, yeah, this is all very, very interesting. So, this friend was Arvada West High School student SC. So, apparently, she was caught with a very specific type of explosive device in her dresser. And this was March 22nd, 19 1999. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth between the Substack and the website here. So investigator Dwayne Eaton's report, which documents 8,845 to 8,873, were released publicly. But this was not the full report. So Research Columbine was able to get the full report from Arvada Police Department directly. So that's very, very curious. So let's look at the documentation here. Let's go over the receipts for those that are not aware. All the coincidence theorist goofs having meltdowns that something isn't as reported on the idiot box, obviously throughout the entire Columbine series and all series here on Mindshock. I always provide all the receipts all the time. I will put the documents on the screen or cite the exact document numbers as appropriate. So none of this is just made up from some random websites like the coincidence theorists like to pretend to soothe their dissonance and mental weakness. Okay, here. So the first report here we're going to go over is from... This is from Officer Calitou. Is that French? So this report, March 23rd, 99. So, March 22nd, 99, approximately 1250 hours, I, Officer Calitou, was dispatched to Redacted on a report of a found explosive device. Once on scene, I contacted Redacted and his wife, who said they found a bomb in their daughter's bedroom. They said their daughter is Redacted, who at this time was in school at Arvada West. Redacted said she had been putting clothes away in her daughter's dresser when she found a manila envelope hidden between layers of clothes. Redacted said she opened the envelope and could see a clear plastic Ziploc-style bag with a strange-looking device inside. Redacted said she took the device out of the bag and did not know what it was, and it wasn't until her younger son said, "Mom, it looks like a bomb," that she thought it was serious. Redacted said she then took the device into her kitchen and placed it on the kitchen table and waited until her husband came home before they called the police. I observed the explosive device where the Redacted had placed it on the table. It appeared to be a clear tape cassette holder filled with metal particles and a coarse white powdery substance. The entire cassette case, except for the end, was wrapped in black electrical tape. There was a fuse protruding from one end of the device, approximately 3/4 inch long. I had the Redacted family step outside their residence and requested Jefferson County Bomb Squad to respond at this time. So this is March 22nd, 1999. Welcome south to west here, Flatless. Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to have to buckle up for this, because this might be the most damning information for additional perpetrators. And these are individuals not previously named. They are not named in any of the public documentation. Now, keep in mind, we've gone over literally hundreds of accounts of unredacted names. And, of course, the usual suspects, you know, regarding the Trenchcoat Mafia have all been named in one form or another, all publicly. So here we're getting into documents and individuals that have been redacted and entire reports not released. I mean, this is really, really crazy stuff here. So KF here was one of the kids in the area who was making explosives with the rest of the area kids. Now, again, I'm going to have to put up a map here because a lot of people, again, if you haven't checked out the previous episodes, people are simply unaware of the level of Colorado schools where these events, there were so many events, either bomb threats, shootings, etc., mostly scheduled for the same day, but some of them actually occurred before and after, in the weeks before and the weeks after. YouTube's getting glitchy. I hope we don't get this whole stream shut down. That would not be good. That would not be good. Definitely wouldn't be good. We got quite a bit to go over here. So these networks were far more vast than initially speculated. Obviously going even beyond Colorado. I mean, just look at the amount. I mean, these are, and of course, one of the most damning document numbers, 18,154. Brianna Cass overheard conversation in class where Jordana Spaven was telling other students that she knows everyone involved in Columbine and there is much more to come. This is definitely not over. Every 13 days they will hit another school. Chatfield is next, then Dakota Ridge. And what's crazy is, like, people dismiss these as just random rumors, but they were literally people caught with guns, bomb threats, actual bombs recovered in these schools like Dakota Ridge. There were actually arrests made. So on the bottom right here, this is the Colorado area. These are high schools where incidents occurred. Pomona, Adams, Stein, there was a bomb threat called, that was an elementary school. Lincoln, Kennedy, Dakota Ridge, Chatfield, Columbine, of course, Highlands, Lone Tree, Douglas, Kiowa, Coronado. These are all in the Colorado area. And then on the map here, you could see also Virginia had a striking amount of incidents on the 22nd and the 24th. Staunton, Culpeper, Chesterfield, Petersburg, Newport News. These are all high schools. Even Toronto, or as they say in Canada, Toronto, on May 4th, 99 had incidents. I mean, just look at this map on the amount of incidents occurring that particular week and in the weeks after. I mean, this is all a very, very narrow span of time. So just to reiterate, a lot of people don't know. So check out the previous episodes. I actually go over each of these accounts and connections to the Trenchcoat Mafia websites, online, and bomb making, etc. So that cannot be understated, that that entire area, specifically in Colorado, something was going on and there was some kind of communication between all of these Trenchcoat Mafia students at various schools. So let's continue the account here. So SC was also sent to Mount View Detention Center. She's in various other Arvada documents. So after Columbine occurred less than a month later, KF was re-interviewed because the device he had given to SC matched the device found during the Columbine investigation in Eric's bedroom. So this is very interesting. So again, let's go through Dwayne Eaton's report here. So this was what was publicly released. Let's go through the public documents first, then we'll go through the unreleased documents and tie it all together. So once again, this is from Dwayne Eaton's report here. So let's go through it. This is document number 8867. The blue redacted is what I redacted just because I don't want to put people's home addresses even if they are public. So May 12th, 99, investigator Dwayne Eaton of the Arvada Police Department was assigned investigative lead 3474. The source listed on the info control sheet was Cheryl, last name unknown. Cheryl was listed as a citizen with a refused telephone number. The narrative portion of the info control sheet, prepared by Sergeant Ken Esther of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, advised that the source claimed to be an ex-employee of Laredo's, a bar in Arvada, which burned down in October 98. The narrative listed that arson was suspected and that Detective Mark Grubel of the Arvada PD was assigned the case. The source advised that she had observed a news story about a search warrant being executed at Video City in Lakewood and was aware that one of the employees of Video City, redacted, last name unknown, had been a suspect in the arson at Laredo's. The source advised that she had been interviewed by Detective Grubel in reference to the arson, had become aware through third-hand information that redacted was under investigation for making bombs and arson. The source advised that since Harris and Klebold have connections to Video City, she feels that Redacted may be involved with them in making bombs. The source also advised that she had been threatened by friends of Redacted when it was learned that she had been talking to the Popo about the arson investigation, and she therefore was reluctant to provide info to the Popo. On Monday, May 17th, 99, at approximately 1700 hours, Investigator Eaton met with Detective Grubel at the Arvada Police Department. Investigator Eaton briefed Detective Grubel on the info included in this investigative lead. Grubel advised Eaton that he believed he had knowledge as to who Cheryl and James both were. Investigator Eaton will not be listing Cheryl's full name in this report due to the fact that she is called in anonymously. Detective Grubel advised that she believed Redacted would be redacted. Detective Grubel advised that during his investigation of the arson at the Laredo Bar and Grill, he became aware that Redacted had in fact manufactured explosive devices. Detective Grubel turned over a photograph of one of the explosive devices. Said photograph will be included with this report. The explosive device depicted in the photograph appears to be a cardboard paper tube of some type, with the ends capped and green and white fuse extending from the cardboard tube. Said device appears to be similar to fireworks type explosive devices known as M80s or large firecrackers. Investigator Eaton believes that this device does not match any of those explosives used by the suspects Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold in the homicides at Columbine High. You know what's crazy though? Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold appeared to have so many friends, though. I mean, think about that. How many friends does the average high schooler have? And yet these guys are hanging out with so many different people from so many different high schools and so many different friend circles. I mean, the narrative that they're just unpopular kids who only had a couple of weirdo friends, trenchcoat mafia friends at Columbine, that doesn't really hold water. Because, I mean, their influence is far and wide. I mean, it's kind of crazy just how many people they know and hang out with, make bombs with, or whatever. I mean, I don't know if that arson has ever been, if they really went over that. $671. Okay. So this is document 8868 here. Tuesday, May 8th, 99, approximately 10:50 hours, Eaton became aware that Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Detective Healy had assisted in executing the search warrant at Video City. During the previous week, Investigator Eaton was made aware that Healy had seized a schedule and phone list of employees at Video City. Investigator Eaton made personal contact with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Randy West and requested a copy of the schedule in order to determine if redacted did in fact work at the Video City in question. West advised Investigator Eaton that he would locate a copy of said schedule and forward it to Investigator Eaton. Later the same day, Eaton received a copy of the Kipling and Jewel Video City weekly schedule for the week of April 19th to 25th. The employees listed on the schedule are Jeff, Shay, Chuck, Rachel, Justin, and Barb. There is no redacted or redacted listed on this schedule. Also given to Investigator Eaton was a copy of the Video City phone list. Redacted was not listed on the list of employees at the store number 1 or the Jewel Video City. Investigator Eaton located only one James on the phone list, and he was listed as employee at store 3. Investigator Eaton checked the U.S. West White Pages business section and determined that there was a Video City store at 2099 Wadsworth Boulevard. There was no last name listed for redacted on this phone list, but the home telephone number was listed as redacted. Investigator Eaton checked the Arvada PD's record management system and learned that redacted's last known home telephone was in fact redacted. This led Investigator Eaton to believe that redacted, who is a suspect in the arson at Laredo's Bar and Grill in Arvada, Colorado, was in fact the redacted listed as an employee at Video City at 20th and Wadsworth. On this date at approximately 1120 hours, Investigator Eaton was able to make telephone contact with redacted at the video store in Lakewood, Colorado. Investigator Eaton identified himself to redacted and advised that he wished to speak with him about the explosives he had made in the past and how that possibly related to the Columbine High School homicides. Redacted agreed to an interview with Investigator Eaton over the phone. Investigator Eaton asked Redacted to confirm which Video City store he worked for. Redacted advised Eaton that he worked for the Video City at 20th and Wadsworth in Lakewood, Colorado. Investigator Eaton asked Redacted if he ever worked at any of the other stores, and Redacted advised Investigator Eaton that he had once at one of the other video stores. He advised that on one occasion during 1998, he had worked at the Video City store located in the areas of West Alameda and Sheridan Boulevard in Lakewood, Colorado. Investigator Eaton asked Redacted if he was acquainted with or socialized with Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, or Redacted. Redacted advised Investigator Eaton that he did not know, nor was he acquainted with any of the 3 subjects named by Eaton. Investigator Eaton asked Redacted if he had ever taught persons from Columbine High, and more specifically, Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, and or their associates, to manufacture explosive devices. Redacted advised Eaton that he never taught those persons nor anyone else to manufacture explosive devices. It should be noted that Redacted asked once again how Eaton came to the point of contacting him about the Columbine High School incident. Investigator Eaton advised Redacted that an anonymous person had called in the info and that Investigator Eaton was assigned to follow up. Investigator Eaton advised Redacted that he was not a suspect in the incident at Columbine High and was only speaking with him as a witness in an attempt to confirm or deny the validity of the investigative lead. Redacted advised Investigator Eaton that he understood why he was being interviewed. Redacted advised Eaton that he had nothing else to say in reference to this interview, and Investigator Eaton concluded the interview at approximately 1130 hours. Now, is this individual telling the truth? Let's continue here. Also, just in continuing to verify all of this, let me bring up the search warrant in connection with all of this to tie the pieces together here, because we'll be referencing all of this documentation. This is document number 25,671. So here, assigned to, so this is Gary Kleiman of the Colorado Attorney General's Office, assigned to assist investigated by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office regarding multiple homicides at Columbine High. So here, located at the crime scene was an explosive device shown to Kleiman by investigator Grove. Grove said the device was identical to another he recovered March 22nd, 99, from a residence located at Redacted. The device was in possession of a juvenile. Redacted. Investigator Kleiman reviewed the investigative report by Arvada. It indicated that Redacted received the device from her friend Redacted, Arvada. Redacted told investigator Grubel of the Arvada PD that he had learned to make the device from Eric Harris, who had been identified as one of the two suspects who committed the homicides at Columbine High, and also placed the explosive devices found on the school premises. So, again, let's review here for the coincidence theorists. Do we have official, confirmed confessions from a third perpetrator that Harris and Klebold did not act alone and they had assistance? So we can only surmise from the countless unreleased documents. I mean, did this simply slip through the cracks here? Because this is on the official documentation. We didn't even get to the unreleased. We didn't even get to the unreleased documents, which we will be getting to shortly. These are the released documents. This is in the released search warrant. Does everybody see this? Also placed explosive devices found on the school premises. So he assisted them in placing this. He admitted this on record. So this is document 25,671. This is the document number for the coincidence theories. This is official released documentation. We have an individual here admitting that Eric Harris taught him how to make explosive devices, and he also placed the devices found on the school premises. Is everybody sitting down for this? I mean, we are firmly in smoking gun territory. I mean, can it get any more official than this? So it is unclear if this is also the same individual in the previous document. So I believe Research Columbine is stating that it is this KF individual. So in his initial interview, he denied it. Now he admitted it. So these are conflicting statements, and obviously he really wanted to know how he was even being called in relation to anything in Columbine. The devices, explosive devices, are identical. So it's made in a video cassette tape. I mean, it's identical to the ones found in Eric Harris's bedroom. So he's on record here stating that he learned to make the devices from Eric Harris, and he also placed the explosive devices found on the school premises. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, hold on a second here. So they're allegedly members of the gang group known as the Trenchcoat Mafia. April 21st, 99, Kleiman spoke to Redacted, the father of Redacted. He advised investigator Kleiman after seeing the news reports of the incident at Columbine High. He located in Redacted's possession a notebook containing notes and sketches which may relate to the construction of explosive devices, and notes by Redacting regarding her relationship with Redacted and possibly others. Redacted is presently in detention or a juvenile sentence to Mount View School Division of Youth Services. Based on the aforementioned info, your affiant respectfully requests the court issue a search warrant for the residence located at redacted. That's very interesting. Okay. All right. So let's continue now. Let's get to the unreleased documentation. So again, recap here, March 22nd, 99, police recovered homemade explosive device from the home of Arvada High School student SC. SC got the device from KF. So KF mentioned that he could make bombs. SC asked him to make her a device. So he did. The device found was unique, a clear plastic VHS cassette tape filled with black powder, sourced from shotgun shells, fireworks, BBs, a cricket, which is a CO2 cartridge containing black powder and a short fuse. Inside the case, one end of the cassette tape was taped shut, and the cricket's fuse was sticking out. Alright, so here is previously unreleased documents here. So these are previously unreleased documents. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. Previously, IO was advised by Jefferson County Bomb Squad Deputy Sheriff Glenn Grove and Mike Guerra that the explosive device was contained in a videotape, and its components were made of BBs and CO2 type cartridge, which contained gunpowder or black powder with a small fuse coming from the CO2 cartridge. The CO2 cartridge had been placed inside of the videotape, and subsequently the entire device had been wrapped in electrical tape. So this excerpt here is from an unreleased Arvada document. So apparently this is identical to the device recovered from Eric Harris's bedroom. That's interesting. So apparently there were 3 devices recovered. So KF's bedroom also had this device. So we have 3 bedrooms here. We have SC, KF, and Eric Harris, who had identical bombs. That's awfully coincidental. So the officers who responded here to this SC bomb also responded to Columbine. So these are the same officers, and they noticed that the bombs were identical. So here is another. Alright, did we finish going over the search warrant? We went over the search warrant, right? Let me just double check that we went over all of this, because it matches. These unreleased documents also match the search warrant. Yeah, we went over this. So this matches the search warrant document 25,671. So these unreleased documents match the released documents. Okay. There's also the evidence log here of these devices. And this is document 11,268. So you can cross-reference all of this with the search warrant, the evidence log, and now here, the unreleased documents that we're going over here. So everything can be cross-referenced and verified. I mean, the coincidence theorists must be in conniptions by now. I mean, does it get any more irrefutable than this? So let's move on to the second piece from the unreleased Arvada document. The investigators advised Eaton that Deputy Glenn of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department bomb squad had located a detonation device inside or nearby the school that matched the description of a detonation device that he had seized and defused in Arvada March 22, 1999. The investigators advised Eaton that this device had been located at Redacted. They further advised Investigator Eaton that the device had been located in the residence of Redacted, a residence at that address. So once again, we have 3 bedrooms containing this identical cassette tape type device. SC, KF, and Eric Harris. What does everybody make of that? Is everybody still buckled up in the chat? Welcome, Dan K, aka Radar, Clark Rice, Lord Zed in the house, Baja Blastius. I like the Bills. Talking about the football team. Yeah, what does everybody think so far? I mean, we got more. We got more here, but does it get any more irrefutable than this? So how many perpetrators were there? So if this is already slipping through the cracks in the release documentation, what is in the thousands and thousands and thousands of unreleased documents? How many more perps were there? Christopher Allen, welcome. So it's actually going to get even crazier here. So apparently, KF denied all of this to the Popo initially, but here we have on record in another unreleased document here. So the Arvada Police Department investigation determined that Redacted had received the detonation device from Redacted. Okay, client advised he developed further, believing that Redacted might be associated with the homicide suspects at Columbine High, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Kleiman advised Investigator Eaton he had received info that Redacted had made statements to a counselor that Redacted had learned to make the detonation device from Eric Harris. I mean, that's quite damning. That's quite damning. I mean, that's a very specific type of device. Very, very specific type of device. So apparently KF reported this admission to the police, and then KF admitted it to the police after the fact. After initially denying it, so he lied to the police on more than one occasion. So, again, I'm not alleging that all these investigators on the ground were in on all of this, because they appear to be honestly doing their job. Because let's continue here, or at least many of them are. I don't know about all of them, but at least many of them are. So let's look at this next piece of information here. So yeah, this is from the unreleased report. So Redacted was asked if he was acquainted with Eric Harris. Redacted replied in the negative. Redacted was then asked if he was acquainted with Dylan Klebold. Redacted once again replied in the negative. Redacted continued that he did not know the subjects and had never talked to the subjects, nor did he know anyone who knew the subjects. So this was what he initially told investigators, just blatantly lying while admitting to his counselor that not only did he know Eric Harris specifically taught him how to make explosive devices. That's quite curious, isn't it? That's quite curious. Okay, let's look at this next piece of information from the unreleased Arvada report. This one's a little bigger. So, Redacted was asked if he was acquainted with any students at Columbine. Redacted advised he did not know any students at Columbine. Redacted was asked if he was familiar with a person named Redacted. Redacted advised he did not know a Redacted, and the only Redacted he was familiar with was Redacted from his old school. Redacted was asked where he had developed his interest in making bombs due to the fact that he had been involved in the earlier Arvada Police Department bomb investigation. Redacted advised he had a strong interest in special effects, animatronics, and pyrotechnic issues as they related to movies. He advised that all the items he had used to make explosives previously had been items he located around his residence. Redacted was asked if anybody had taught him how to make bombs, and Redacted advised he had figured out how to do it on his own, without anyone teaching him. Redacted further advised he might have read something in books about making bombs, that he had mostly developed his ideas on his own. He also advised that the bomb had been located in Redacted's residence, had been made by him at the start of the school year. He advised he had it laying around the house, and when Redacted advised him that she wanted it, he gave it to her. He advised he had made several bombs before that. However, he advised he had made a total of 3 bombs, but his parents had found one and he had disassembled the other for fun. He advised he had forgotten about the detonation device made in the cassette tape case and had left it in a dresser drawer. He advised when he later got in trouble for making bombs by his parents, he decided to get rid of it, and while talking about it at school, Redacted asked for it. So we have here a plethora of contradictory statements made by Redacted, aka KF here. Is everybody still with me here? Dan K in the chat says, I hear it's okay to lie to law enforcement officers if your fingers are crossed. Maybe they did that. Welcome, SP Ducking Felonies. I mean, this is all very, very curious, because KF is not someone frequently mentioned in the circle of the Trenchcoat Mafia, but we don't know how many circles there were. I mean, I didn't do an episode yet on the night missions, but I do have that coming up. Apparently, Eric Harris, sometimes with, sometimes without Dylan Klebold, exercised night missions with other Trenchcoat Mafia members, both Columbine high school students, former Columbine high school students, and students from other high schools. And of course, there were so many different guys in trench coats from other high schools who just so happened to be at Columbine that day. It's really weird. Must be all coincidence. Must all be. So again, he's initially claiming he came up with this all on his own, even though it's identical to the device found in Eric Harris's bedroom as well. Quite the curiosities. Let's continue. Also from this unreleased Arvada police report. Investigator Kleiman explained to Redacted the device he had made for Redacted matched one of the explosive devices discovered at Columbine High School. Kleiman further advised Redacted that the police had information that Redacted had learned to make his explosive devices from Eric Harris. Kleiman explained that while searching Harris's residence with the other law enforcement officials, he had observed items in Harris's residence matching those Redacted had used in manufacturing his explosive device. Kleiman advised that there were items such as shotgun shells, cassette tape cases, black tape, and CO2 cartridges. Redacted advised he did not know Harris or Klebold and had only been manufacturing his items for use in special effects. I wonder if he struck some kind of deal with law enforcement at some point. But wait, there's more. I mean, he's really slipping up a lot here. Redacted was asked if he was acquainted with Eric Harris, replied in the negative. Redacted was asked if he was acquainted with Dylan Klebold. Redacted once again replied in a negative. Redacted continued that he did not know the subjects, had never talked to the subjects, nor did he know anyone that knew the subjects. I think we already went over that one. For some reason, I don't have it on the screen here. Okay. And we have another one here. I mean, this is just flat out unbelievable. So, yeah, we got two more here. Absolutely unbelievable stuff here. Redacted was confronted with the information the law enforcement officials received pertaining to Redacted advising a counselor that Redacted had learned to make bombs from Eric Harris, the same one he said he was not acquainted with and had never met. Redacted replied, "I don't know what she's saying. The stuff and equipment I have is only a coincidence." I mean, how many people make bombs in empty VHS cassette tapes, though? I mean, I actually never heard of that. But I'm no expert. Investigate. Okay. So Redacted advised he had no such publications in his residence. He advised that in the past he had read the Anarchist Cookbook at the library in 7th grade. Wait, is he talking about the middle school library or the city library? He advised that students weren't allowed to check it out, but only use it as reference material. He advised he had never found anything online in the computer about manufacturing explosives, but he did have a few books about special effects. He advised he used some of the ideas in the books and special effects to make bigger explosive devices than shown in the book. I mean, that's an interesting admission. So he's making even bigger devices? What does everybody make of this? Quite a lot of contradictory statements here. Sam Smith in the chat saying they were probably doing their vampire LARPs on those night missions. I'm not sure they were. I think a lot of those night missions were separate, and I'll get into that on that dedicated episode. They were doing pranks on random people, like leaving explosive devices and things of that nature, fireworks, etc. Les Xylophone says it's documented they went around doing property damage, yes. SP said maybe, but Heckler changed, remember? He found girlfriend, interest in life skyrocketed. Oh, Les Xylophone says rumor has it Heckler was popped with Eric and Dylan with a device in 97, as early as 97. Yeah, he hung out with them quite a bit in years prior. Les Xylophone says it's also said that Heckler was at the van as well. I haven't seen that. I do have to get into the van incident and the law enforcement encounter after that. Oh, I mentioned that in episode 17, that Heckler was with them at the van? I don't even remember that. There's so many incidents to keep track of here. Clark Rice says, I find it all easily coincidental. Yes, I'm sure it's all coincidental. Oh, that Heckler did the LARPing with them? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. I mean, just the amount already here, not to mention the Anarchist Cookbook does not contain, it does not contain making VHS cassette bombs. So, what is interesting is that, so his counselor reported that KF mentioned that he had learned how to make bombs from Eric Harris. So then the police asked him about it, and so KF initially is maintaining that it's just a coincidence that they have identical bombs. He made identical bombs to those that Eric Harris had in his bedroom, and that he made up, and for whatever reason the counselor made up that he said he knew Eric Harris. That is kind of weird. That would be quite the coincidence. So also here, text report here, there's no screenshot here, so I'm just gonna read the quote from further unreleased documentation here from KF regarding KF. Quote, April 20th, 99, 2 gunmen entered Columbine High School located in Jefferson County and subsequently shot a number of students. As a result of the subsequent investigation, it was determined that a number of explosive devices had been left in Columbine High School by the gunman. Several of these devices were apparently similar in nature to the device located in the residence of redacted SC. It was also subsequently determined that redacted KF had previously been a student at Columbine and had transferred to Arvada West High School. He was familiar with at least one of the gunmen associated with the shootings at Columbine High School. So, not only, this is kind of crazy. How? Let's look at this. Let's look at this one again. So he actually was formerly a student at Columbine. Let me see if he actually was named. Let me double check this, because if he was named previously, then I can give his name if it's public. So this guy who was actually a student at Columbine said he doesn't know anybody at Columbine. And he doesn't know anybody who knows anybody at Columbine. You can't make this stuff up, people. If he's named publicly in the documents, I can name him, but for some reason, let's see if he is. Okay, no, he is not. Let me double check the previous yearbook. So that's kind of interesting. So this is a former, so KF is a former Columbine High School student. That's very, very interesting, isn't it? So that would, I guess that would be the connection to Eric Harris, although apparently I'm still kind of curious as the arson connection. So he also knows, he's also been either associated directly with the arson or someone who is associated with the arson. That's pretty crazy. Must all be a coincidence, I guess. I mean, the amount of coincidences here, though, it's quite staggering. Absolutely staggering. I'm checking the 97 yearbook to see if he's in it. He is not pictured. Yeah, it's a freshman. Hold on, maybe he was a sophomore, or he either wasn't in the yearbook or he transferred out prior to the yearbook being released. Alright, let me check here. If he was a sophomore. So no, he's not in as a sophomore either, no. Perhaps, I guess, if he was left back a few years. Let me see if he was in as a junior. Yeah, there was quite a few associated individuals who apparently either dropped out or transferred, so they're not in the yearbook, even if they were there that year of Columbine. So, yeah, that happened on a few occasions. Yeah, he's not in it. Unless, I guess I might as well check the seniors. I mean, who knows? Maybe some of these guys were left back quite a few times. Still kind of crazy how in all these old yearbooks, you know, people just look so much older, whereas nowadays, not so much. Yeah, he's not in it. Okay. He's not in it. So, alright, let me just get through the some of the chat here. Les Xylophone asks, why isn't the year of 98 digital? Yeah, that I went over that on previous episodes. I'm not sure. I'm working on getting a copy. Les Xylophone says, I think Dwayne Fusilier is the leader of the TCM cult. Sam Smith says, I theorized the TCM gang were really mind-controlled into thinking they were participating in nothing more than a live-action role-playing game. That'd be interesting. We didn't specifically go about that. Clark Rice says, I did a college paper on Columbine. There were a lot of crickets and small pipe bombs. Yeah, quite a lot. Dozens and dozens and dozens. Sam Smith says, is there still a goth scene in Metro Denver? That's a good question. Alright, so let's continue here. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of crazy. So, he said he didn't know anybody at Columbine when he's a former student. I mean, this that's wild. Okay. So, apparently, KF was also a minimum of 6 feet tall. Just like all these behemoths. These absolute behemoths. I mean, let me bring up... Do I have an image here of the Columbine TCMers? with all of their heights. I actually think I might have got one of the guy's heights wrong. He's even taller than I had here. Yeah, most of these guys were absolute behemoths, but apparently KF was also a minimum of 6 feet tall. Yeah, these guys were tall. I think Heckler might have also been taller. He might have been 6'3 to 6'5 as well. And Dykeman possibly also taller than 6'2. He might have also been 6'3, 6'4. And Joe Stair possibly as well. So yeah, these guys were behemoths, other than Eric Harris and Brian Sargent. And Eric Vike wasn't officially a member. So yeah, quite interesting. Quite interesting. Just a lot of coincidences. So the main question here is... So Research Columbine here throwing some shade at Randy Brown, Brooks Brown's father. So he picked up a copy of this unreleased Arvada report on October 22nd, 2001, and never told anybody. He mentioned KF being a shady character, but never released the report, never divulged that that KF admitted to planting bombs at Columbine. Now, what does that say about who Mr. Brown is and who he works for? Shouldn't someone fighting for the truth have dropped that info on the spot? Not if they're part of the show, which he is. So why was KF let off the hook like many believe others were let off the hook? Other TCMers. For what reason? That's kind of weird. So again, once again, in the... So the evidence log, document 11,268 here, we can see the listing here of the cassette. So once again, this all matches. So we can see the listing. Right here is the cassette tape with the CO2. So once again, this is document 11,268. And of course, KF lied about everything. About knowing Harris, how he got the bombs, all of it. So KF's lying about everything. And he was let off the hook. That's interesting. SP says, going by the first Trenchcoat Mafia image in the Columbine yearbook, Brian Sargent looks at least 6 feet. That's if Chris Morris is really 6'4" at the time. Well, I think they were leaning kind of weird, and depending on how close they were standing to the camera. Because I think Sargent was under 6 feet. So anywhere from like 5'7" to 5'10", or even 5'6", I think someone might have listed him. Yeah, it's kind of hard to find his exact height anywhere. So people just described him as short. They just matching his general description, people that saw him. But we don't have an exact height, so who knows, I guess. Oh, yeah. Les Xylophone just mentioned that there was some kind of fire near or on Columbine School property currently. What's going on with that, Les Xylophone? Les Xylophone says Columbine has a huge scandal happening right now as well. Scandal relating to what? Les Xylophone says, I think it was a static fire in the wood shop that started some dust up. Oh, wow, that's messed up. Les Xylophone says, a teacher groomed a kid for like 3 years and worked in tandem with the school and school district to make it seem like the girl was homeless or something. What? That's really weird. Yeah, this is really weird. Anyway, I wonder if Mike Guerra and Glenn Grove were ever interviewed on why all of the investigation into KF was completely dropped, because they were part of the bomb squad that recognized the bombs being the same. So yeah, why was this KF individual just completely let off the hook? Because this is really weird. I mean, everything about this is really weird. Clark Rice says, looking back at Dylan and Eric's court records from the van break-in, I think it is clear that the parents' police were extremely naive. I'm not sure about that. I think there was a lot going on there. There was a whole lot going on there. Sam Smith says, does anybody know what the cause of death was for victim Anne-Marie Hochschulte? Did it have anything to do with being confined to a wheelchair for the past 25 years? If so, shouldn't her death be classified as murder and a murder investigation be done? Yeah, I'm not sure on the exact legal definitions there. And especially, I'm not sure how that works in terms of time frame. Like, if somebody punches you in the face in a bar fight, and let's say you get CTE from it, but you don't die until 50 years later, is that murder? I mean, I don't know how that works. If they can prove it was from that and you never sustained any other head injury, I don't know. I'm going to reveal one more thing here. I've actually been in contact with a Columbine survivor. They do not want to go public, but they were okay with me sharing some of their thoughts, but not their name. So we're going to wrap up this episode with that information. So I was able to ask quite a few questions that I had been pondering regarding the aftermath mostly. Just give me a second here. So apparently, I mean, Hochschulter's death might actually bring more, survivors and witnesses. Maybe they'd feel more comfortable sharing more information. So this was someone who was in the cafeteria. So this individual did mention that one of their best friends was not at school, and yet their statement was that they were at school. So again, just regarding the records, I mean, how accurate are a lot of these records? Because this is someone with first-hand direct information and direct knowledge of where people were. So not everybody was where they say they were. So it was someone who was having lunch not at school and didn't want to get in trouble with their parents, so they claimed they were at school during a shooting. I mean, this is really bonkers. Now, what's curious, I actually read the statement. I think I might have read this individual's report reporting that there were 3 individuals or this individual was told by their friends, by 2 friends, that there were 3 guys, none of which were Harrison Klebold, setting off fireworks. So the individual I was talking to couldn't actually remember because it was so long ago, and this was a secondhand account. So their friends were telling this individual that they saw 3 individuals who were none of which were Harrison Klebold were setting off fireworks. But they told me that they know for a fact that one of their best friends was having lunch with an older someone older than, I guess, significant. I don't know how much older, but they didn't want to get in trouble with their parents. Now, the person they were having lunch with, this person did not make a statement, so there's no way to verify any of this. Now, here's a very interesting thing that the survivor had said. They said that they were at a party. I don't know if I should say exactly where it is, because once again, this individual does not want to be named. They want to remain anonymous. Let me see if I can give a general area. So this place is... Okay. Oh, wow. So this place is not that close to Columbine. Let me get the exact distance. Oh, not too far either. So this place is about an hour north of Denver. So still in Colorado. So this place an hour north of Denver, there was a party there. This is after Columbine graduation. Several kids spoke about how they saw a masked gunman with long black hair. So once again, let's get the image of Dylan Klebold on the screen. I mean, obviously Eric Harris did not have black hair. This is the first I've heard of a long black-haired shooter, I believe. I don't know. I mean, we've gone over so many episodes and hundreds of accounts. Does anybody in the chat recall? Does anybody in the chat recall if there was a long black-haired shooter reported? And Klebold's hair wasn't even that long. So he's got brownish hair. Yeah, it's not even that long. I mean, this was a bit prior, but still, yeah, it's not even that long. Okay. So this survivor, once again, is saying, so they're at a party after graduation about an hour north of Denver. So this is not one kid. Several kids spoke about how they saw a gunman with long black hair. So kids who were in different parts of the cafeteria but it was at the same time. So they were hiding on different sides of the lunchroom, and they saw this guy, but they said this guy was never on any of the surveillance video and was never identified. Now, we all know that the footage went to Quantico first before ever being aired. So here is yet another account of just an additional shooter who's this doesn't show up anywhere else. Yeah, well, I don't know. How long was Robert Perry's hair anyway? Because a lot of people specifically identified Perry because of the acne on his face. He had severe acne. But they're talking about here with a masked gunman, so there would be no acne. So someone wearing a mask, I'm assuming not a ski mask, because a ski mask would cover the hair. So some other type of mask that it was only covering the face, and long black, like when I mean, I don't know, what is long black hair? I mean, I'm imagining like well below the shoulders, not longish, because Dylan and Perry had longish hair, you know, shoulder length, not like halfway or more down their back. I mean, I'm gonna ask for clarification actually, like how long, but just when somebody says long, I mean, to me, that kind of sounds like it's like it's down their back substantially. But who knows? So this individual is saying that several different kids reported this, that they were on different ends of the cafeteria, but they all saw this guy, and yet this guy shows up nowhere on the footage, on the cafeteria footage. What does that mean? So, yeah, and obviously the footage, I mean, there was convenient tape switching. Who knows what was edited at Quantico and released. And so I also asked how many security cameras were in the school. They didn't recall exactly, but they said there were security cameras all over various parts of the school. Now, what has been confirmed is that the administration area had cameras, the library hallway had cameras, the cafeteria had cameras, the parking lot areas had cameras. Now, what has long been a subject of dispute is whether the library itself had cameras. Now, I asked this survivor this as well. So just give me a second here. This individual also said that the police apprehended several individuals. A white t-shirt individual and others that I've gone over as well. So apparently they did arrest quite a few people that day on location. Well, actually, okay. So later, this individual clarified it was a black ski mask. It was a black ski mask with long dark hair. So the hair would have to be longer than the ski mask in order. I mean, I'll ask for clarification, but it doesn't look like Perry or Klebold. Their hair is long enough to stick out beyond a ski mask. A ski mask goes down the neck. I mean, some of them are even longer. Some of them even have a little bit of shoulder overlap. So the black hair would have to be longer than their shoulders to stick out beyond the ski mask. Klebold and Perry do not match that description, so this would be someone other than Dylan or other than Klebold or Perry. I also asked about any other rumors, and the individual said this: the very next day, maybe even 2 days later, there were rumors that there were kids still stuck in the school or hiding in the ceiling. Huh. Now again, maybe that was just a rumor with nothing behind it, but yeah, apparently SWAT was still going into the building at night, and they said there were still suspects in the building. I went over that in previous episodes as well. Duck and Felony says, wasn't there a girl with black hair in that video shooting guns with them? Yeah, just, that was Miklich. Yeah, I should have asked if it was, I just kind of assumed it was a male. I would assume it was a male because, I mean, you, again, in that kind of traumatic situation, maybe you wouldn't be able to tell, but that would be interesting, hair that long. I think she was accounted for, though. For some reason, I'm thinking she was. Because I think she was, I believe she was older. Let me double check. Yeah, that was Mainz's girlfriend. So she would have... I'm assuming her whereabouts were accounted for. So, let's see here. And I think, was it one of the other associates either bought or sold a car to her? This is Mark Main's girlfriend. Yeah, she was the adult girlfriend, so I would guess they knew where she was. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't assume that was her. Yes, I will ask if this was a female, but for some reason I'm just thinking no. Cuz she wouldn't have been crazy tall. But yeah, the rumor about kids still being in the ceiling or stuck in the school, I mean, that actually does kind of maybe sound like just a more normalish type of rumor with no truth behind it in the aftermath of such a tragedy. Yeah, Les Xylophone says Nate Dykman's tan car that was seen following the BMW. Yeah, I mean, I went over all that. Like, the amount of strange vehicles with TCM members hanging in and out of them just happened to surround them. Les Xylophone said she wrecked the car right before they interviewed her. Did I go over that? Man, when you go over hundreds and hundreds of accounts, it's kind of hard. Let me double check. What the heck? So, on the Columbine encyclopedia here, this is really strange. Got a lot of strange issues here. 1 second. Okay, so, oh wow. It's no longer up. Let me get a archive of this site. Because I really want to see what this says. EncyclopediaColumbine.com. It's no longer online, or at least not at the moment. I can't access it. Let me see if there's a cache here. Yes, there is. Okay. Wow, this is crazy. Numerous witnesses reported seeing a suspicious tan car before, during, and after the shooting. The car was seen on several occasions speeding away from Clement Park before the first explosion, following Klebold's BMW into Columbine's parking lot, with 3 kids exiting the vehicle, 2 identified as the suspects. On Pierce Street, across the street from the Mormon house, the trunk was open. People, including Klebold, were looking inside. Also parked in Nate Dykeman's driveway with Klebold's BMW the morning of the shooting. Quickly pulling into Dykeman's driveway with 2 occupants around 12 p.m., parked for 20 minutes, then left, speeding through a cul-de-sac following Klebold's BMW near Pierce and Cayley. Okay, so Nate Dykeman drove an old tan car, but Dykeman did not drive his white truck to school on 420. But he did talk to Spevak in the Columbine High School parking lot. So some believe he parked the white truck elsewhere. Huh. But then Dykeman's truck was seen by 2 witnesses in the traffic jam of students leaving the school. Wow, so did someone else drive his tan car away from the school, then he got his truck and left with all the other students? That's pretty crazy. So I went over all of these before, but here is something that I haven't seen before. Here is something I haven't seen before. There's a FBI, it says there was a tan sedan being surveilled by the FBI here. That's the only reference. That's all it says. Was the FBI surveilling a tan sedan? This is the only citation I've seen to that. This is on encyclopediacolumbine.com/wiki/tan_car. It's no longer online, but I'm looking at a cache of this site. Yeah, I mean, the tan car is definitely suspect, but we don't know if this is the same tan car that was sold to Miklich. And supposedly, the car was wrecked at some point. Anyway, that's wild. I wonder where that FBI reference is. I'm gonna have to dig that up for next time. But anyway, just continuing here with the conversation with this survivor. So I also asked about how well known, like if they knew Trenchcoat Mafia members or how frequently they were at school. The individual responded there were a presence that was very much known because they did all wear the long black trench coats, and there were several of them. And it's not like there were only 2 kids who wore them and they were totally isolated and picked on like the mainstream narrative. So here is an actual person that went to the school, completely destroying the narrative that there was no Trenchcoat Mafia, or that, you know, they were just picked on and retaliated. Another quote here, everyone knew about the Trenchcoat Mafia, and I remember coming into high school as a freshman and thinking, oh my gosh, This is like straight out of the movies. The idolatry of football and the seniors who looked like middle-aged men. It was like right out of a teen movie. I also brought up a little bit, or they brought up that Littleton seemed like there was some kind of a curse on it, and that there was a lot of evil there. There was one more thing I asked, if there was a camera in the library. The individual said they didn't think that there was because the library was used as a makeout spot. So that's an interesting answer because I hadn't heard that before. So, yeah. I also asked if they noticed that how many people were missing that day. They said that the lunchroom seemed as crowded as normal. Now that's tough to tell because obviously the school is so large. So when you have over 1,000 students spread out, it would be difficult to tell if there were more than usual people absent that day. They also couldn't remember the exact morning announcements, but they said that there was something weird about them. So yeah, they said that yeah, the library was a makeout spot. So apparently there was not a camera directly in the library. They also said that most of who they knew in school, like their classmates, weren't aware of all the weirdness with the law enforcement, the rumors of the friendly fire. I mean, there's video of law enforcement just blindly firing through windows in the school, etc. So, yeah. So that's most of the conversation there. They didn't finish. Yeah, they didn't finish the entire Mindshock series, so I will be talking to them if they want to after seeing it and kind of going through more info here. Let's On the Phone says, my elementary school had cameras everywhere in the 90s. I went to school in Thornton, which is like 25 miles north of Littleton's. Yeah, I mean, you would think they would have a camera in the library, but yeah, so the library hallway camera is confirmed. And of course, the footage has never been released, and there's no footage released from the admin area either, where there was reported gunfire at the same time as gunfire in the cafeteria and library. So unless, and apparently Dylan and Eric were together the entire time. So who's doing the shooting in all these other areas of the school? It doesn't really make sense. So that's it for now. I don't know how much more damning it can get regarding the accounts of additional parties. I mean, we just went over documents released and unreleased. I mean, just identical devices here in cassette tapes. All very, very, very damning. But yeah, plenty more to go over in this series as well as other. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another edition of Mindshock True Crime. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.